Hello everybody, my name's Alistair Fairful of SEN Plus Limited, and welcome to my series of videos about using Capita's SIMS system to create provision maps of your school's additional provisions. In this video I'm going to show you how to add your provisions to the SIMS Lookups table. So let's get started. First of all, let's just make sure we've got SIMS open and in front of us. So here we go. Focus on the important part of the screen. You need to add provisions to SIMS Lookups as one of your first jobs, because you can't add provisions to your pupils unless you've put your provisions in. Now SIMS allows you to put your own custom provisions in, so they'll be completely unique to your school, but I urge you first of all to contemplate exactly the names of the provisions, because these provisions names will appear in any reports that you generate, and it will be good for, say, educational psychologists, Ofsted inspectors, or indeed even parents to understand what kind of provision we're talking about. It's no good calling a provision Phoenix if it doesn't have a clue as to what that kind of provision is. So if your Phoenix is additional phonics, then let's call it Phoenix Phonics Club. Or if it's to do with literacy, let's make sure the word literacy is in there. Same with one-to-one support, for example. If you're going to offer one-to-one support, make sure that Ofsted or your educational psychologist understands what kind of support that is. Is it support for literacy? In which case, call it literacy support. Is it support for maths? If so, call it maths support. Is it behaviour? If so, use the word behaviour in the provision map in title. Anyway, once you've sorted out that and you've got your list of provisions, let's find out where we add those. So you go to Tools on the top toolbar, you click on that, and you'll find Lookups is the second one down. So highlight Lookups and wander across until you can see the Maintain button and click that button. You get a new window, the Find Lookups window. So here we go, you can see Find Lookup type, and what we're going to do is search for SEN lookups. So if we type SEN to the descriptions window there and click on the binoculars to search, it'll bring up all the SEN type, all the SEN associated lookups, and if we scroll down those you can see SEN provision type. Double click on that, and what you can see in yours, if you're new to this, what you'll see is these kind of provisions which were originally put in by Capita. So you've got a time in SEN unit not specified, time in specialist class, resource provisions, etc, etc. And these were put in a long time ago, and things have moved on in the provision world since then, and you want to add yours, and I suggest you add them with a W prefix. So if you have a look at mine, I've got, for example, here W2 additional literacy support. W2 is the wave, and the DFE likes you to have your provisions in waves. Wave 2 is kind of catch-up provision, and wave 3 is a far more intensive provision. So you can see I've got some W2s and some W3s. Let's look to add our first provision then. And here we go. To add a new provision, click on New on the right hand side of the box. First of all, you have to put in a code. What I do is I just use the first initials of the provision for my code. So I'll get W2 for wave 2, and in this case it's going to be math support, so MS for math support. Put that in the descriptions block, so you've got W2 maths support. Got to spell that wrong. There we go, maths support. And you have to choose a category nowadays. Let me just show you the end of this box here. There we go. And just select other. The two above have a monetary implication, so just choose other, and that's just for the DFE, so it's okay to do that. I'm just going to click on OK. What you'll notice here is that your mass support, your new provision, arrives at the bottom of the list, and when your list appears, you want your list reasonably tidy so it's easy to find the provision that you want. So what I do is I'm going to move this up here by clicking the move up button. Here it goes up the list, and what I do is put all the wave 2s together and I put them in alphabetical order, just because I'm that kind of person. So there we go, maths comes after literacy, LM, and that's in the right position for me. I'd like you also to notice these active buttons down the side, those active words down the side in this list here, and you can tidy up your lists further by taking the active out of some of these provisions down here that you no longer want. So for example, I don't want IT provision to appear in my lookup table, so what I'm going to do is open IT provision just to tidy it up and uncheck the little box here, active. It will know, if that's unchecked, it will no longer appear in my list of drop down provisions. And it's simple as that. You just add new ones as you wish. I suggest at the beginning you're going to add quite a few, and then you might end up adding one or two through the subsequent years. But you just go through the whole process. I'm going to cancel that one now. You know how to do it. And that's how to add provisions to your lookups. Once we've added our provisions to the SEM provision type, then you'll also need to add provisions to another lookup. So let's just have a quick look at that one. Cancel that. Just make sure you've saved all of your new provisions by clicking the save button. Look, it greys out once you've saved them, and we're just going to have a look at another lookup type. So I'm going to browse again, and you've just added the provision types. You need to make sure that in linked adult relationship types you've got one or two provisions you might not otherwise have. So let's quickly have a look at that. Double click. Here you've got them, and I just want to point out these. In your authority, you may not have. You may have things like teaching assistant, or high-level teaching assistants, or nurture group leaders, or area Senkos that come in and visit your school, or other kinds of roles. Now, you need to make sure that they're in this list, and it's a pretty long list. So you not only want to make sure they're in your list, but you want to make sure that the ones that you use most frequently are at or very near the top. So for example, I've got a teaching assistant and I've got a teaching assistant too. Not that I really need them, but I've decided to move my teaching assistant to the very top because I use it a lot. You might have a learning support assistant, so and not teaching assistant, so let's add that in. New, a code, LSA, description, learning support assistant. Simple as, it's active, click on OK. There we go, appears at the bottom of the list. I'm going to use that a lot in my school to support additional provisions, so I'm going to put it near the top of the list, and you'll see in a further video why that's important. So go all the way to the top. I don't use them quite as often as I use my high-level teaching assistant, so I'm going to leave it at that position. Brilliant. Again, go to the blue save button up here. Make sure you've saved those. The changes might not have take effect until you've closed down the system and open it up again. But in a nutshell, that is indeed how you add provisions to SIMS lookups. Thank you.